All right, so let's talk about it. Nearly half of adult cancer deaths in the US could be prevented by making lifestyle changes, study finds. And clearly, it's got something to do with Shorty smoking his cigarette, you feel me? So, when you really want to get into it, tobacco smoke is one of the most damaging things that we can actually ingest into our system. I talked about this maybe a couple weeks ago, um, about how the tobacco leaves are even processed so that the cigarette can be made. They're processed in layers of sugar. That's especially how they get their flavorings too. Now, it is not the tobacco leaf burning that causes such damage. Our ancestors, natives to this country, they delved into using tobacco as a substance. It's a sacred plant, but it is the active burning of the sugars that they've marinated in that causes extra shit to be put into the air, put into our lungs, put into our systems, and that's what causes so much damage. I thought this picture would be a little better. But blood vessels. So when you get into how does tobacco smoke affect the circulatory system? I believe that's what it's called. So there's a system within the body. It's called angiogenesis. And basically what angiogenesis is the creation and destruction of blood vessels. So when you get cuts and scrapes, new blood vessels have to be formed because clearly you've got this wide open wound and blood's just gushing out of it. Well, there has to be a system in place that's forming new blood vessels to help, clean everything up, close everything together, and a system that stops blood vessels from forming. Now, the reason blood vessels would need to be stopped from forming is so that they're not feeding cancerous cells. So, when you're inhaling this tobacco smoke and it's all in your lungs, well now the system is going to act is going to overreact and it's going to create more and more blood vessels within the lungs. The issue with that is these blood vessels are going to be inoperable. So they're not going to work. It's like they're not going to do anything, but they're there. Because they're there, now it's taking away from the body being able to form new blood vessels in places where it's necessary. So, say you have a cut and a scrape somewhere on your leg, but you huffing down tobacco smoke, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Well, now the cuts and scrapes that are on your legs, they're not going to heal as fast. So, the 5 to 7 days that it would take for it to kind of, scab over and be good and well, it'll still be there 2 weeks later. You're looking at yourself like, damn, I'm spilling lemon juice on myself and the shit still burned from 2 weeks ago. That's crazy. And another note on that before I talk about the stem cells, it the excess tobacco smoke causes a lack of oxygen. A lack of oxygen is called hypoxia. So it's signaling to the body that more blood vessels need to be made because more oxygen has to be carried over. But these blood vessels are inoperable because they're filled with, they're filled with smoke. They're filled with free range radicals, and oxygen cannot pass through it freely. So, in the case of stem cells, tobacco smoke is one of the most damaging factors for stem cells. Stem cells have the ability to, as you can see, turn into any kind of cell that is necessary for the body. And tobacco smoke causes them to lose this ability. Now, or excuse me, not lose this ability. It causes stem cells to constantly be sent out so that now you have less to work with later on in life. So, because of the hypoxia, the lack of oxygen in the bloodstream, it's causing stem cells to be, sent out on a consistent basis to wherever is necessary in the body. I guess we'll talk about the lungs. But The stem cells can't do their job properly because the smoke is retarding them, excuse my language. And stem cells are stored in our bone marrow. Now, when these stem cells are sent out, there isn't anything coming behind them to replace that one. You know, stem cells, as you can, like I said, they have the ability to become anything they need to. They have the ability to multiply themselves. Our cells themselves have the ability to multiply themselves. But the tobacco smoke is causing the body to not even be able to do that. So there's no healing taking place. And in the case of cancers, if the body's unable to recognize that these free radicals and even certain cells are cancerous, then imagine the angiogenesis system, the blood vessel system, feeding these cells, because there's nothing turning that system off. There's nothing saying, hey, that's a cell that we actually need to target and get rid of. And it's all stemming from huffing down tobacco smoke, huffing down the vapors and the chemicals that are coming from the sugars that have been marinated and soaked up into the tobacco leaf. And you didn't hear this from me, but if you smoke weed, you know what I'm saying? Try making it as a tea instead. Making it as a tea, it's much more potent. Um, it does not have anything to do, like, you have a habit of smoking. You're not addicted to the way smoking makes you feel. You know what I'm saying? It's the habitual movement, bringing the hand to the mouth. Same way with food. You know what I'm saying? Try making it as a tea instead. Much more potent. I mean, I'm not going to talk about the trips that I've had, but I'm talking from 9 o'clock at night to 6 in the afternoon the next day, still going through it, waiting to come down. And I'm very serious about that. And last thing before I go, um, smoking is another form of punishment unto yourself. Smoking doesn't have anything to do with, oh, I'm trying to get high or I'm trying to feel good. Smoking is actually a form of punishment. There's no way in hell you feel okay about that burn you get at the back of your throat, you know? There's nothing good, there's nothing pleasant about coughing up a lung after you take a pull. You know what I'm saying? So why would you continue to harm yourself? And this isn't even about what's going on inside of the body. This is just first whiff. You know what I'm saying? Like first pull, first huff, and you feel pain. Why would you continue to do that? Because you feel that you deserve some type of punishment for what you've done, for how you live, and this is the way that you can get there. It is the pain that leads to pleasure that continues the cycle of self-punishment that leads to a 2-3 hour high that spins the cycle once again so you can continuously do it over and over and over again.